Oh, hello there. Okay, so last time we were going through the Constitution, and I did make some changes in between there, but they were basically minor changes. Um, so, anyways, let's review. Let's review what we read. Okay, so establish the federal government. Give rights to states and protections. This feels wonky. What maybe rights. Okay, I feel like I want to. Maybe I just need to understand more of the Constitution before I can do anything about it. But anyways, so we got Section 1, the legislative branch. So we got Congress, which is the Senate and the House of Representatives. 2-year term. Qualifications for electors. What is it? It's like 425. 425 House Representatives. 435 members. Why does it have 34? Okay, so seems to have 435 members since is an upper bound. And yeah, I recently saw that there were some initiatives to increase the number of House Representatives. I mean, it feels like the reasoning makes sense because so you have the small states and you have the large states, or you have the highly populous states and the smallly populous states. So you want to have some protections so that get the tyranny of the majority. But I think so you have the Senate, which is 2 per state, so that's evenly represented per states regardless of size. And then you got the Electoral College, which is also favored towards states. And then you got the House of Representatives, which, if there's just 1 per 30,000, it still doesn't quite. It's still like an extra edge towards states instead of people. So it feels like it's kind of out of balance that versus of state interest versus people interest, like the popular vote interest. I mean, it seems reasonable. It feels like maybe 2 things is fine, but 3 things might be too much. There's a Speaker of the House that does things. Still have no idea what they do. Other officers. Okay, so what are we on? We are on section 2. Section 2 is on page 1. Section 2, Section 3, Senate and Vice President. 2 senators per state, 6-year terms. Every 2 years they put in new senators. It seems the House of Representatives serves 1 more order of magnitude than in the Constitution because reasons. I don't remember this. I don't remember what this means. Seems that the House let's correct the grammar before potentially believing this, serves 1 more order of magnitude than in the Constitution because reasons. Or I guess basically why am I even doing this? Okay, 10x more than the 30,000 because reasons. Yeah, source needed. So state executive can put in temporary appointments until the next meeting. State executive. Okay, so basically you have the 3 got the 3 branches of the federal government, and to my knowledge, it's mostly copied down to the state governments. So you have the executive branch, which would basically be the president, and then you got the legislative branch, and you got the judicial branch, which I learned recently. So you got the Supreme Court of the United States. There's some states that do not call it. They call it the Court of Appeals. like the highest court is like the Court of Appeals. So that might be something to look at later. Is what are all these judicial branches of all these states? State executive can put in temporary appointments until the next meeting. Okay, so the Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof, for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election. I guess this is the expiration of the 4th year, yada yada yada. And if vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporary appointments until the next meeting of the village shall fill in vacancies. So basically, the state governor can just like toss someone in there until the next meeting. Although I guess is it like okay, so no person shall be a senator who shall not have attained 30 years and 9 years as citizen of the United States. So notably, doesn't necessarily need to be born here. And 2 shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant, which is basically saying, okay, you must inhabit the state. Shall to choose their officers. Must be inhabitant of the state. Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. And then here is the list of tiebreakers. Choose their officers. What are their officers? President. Okay, so we got President. President pro tempore. Okay, so basically, someone in the Senate gets to be the. Does that make any sense? Doesn't make any sense. It has to be like non the Senate because otherwise the tiebreaker doesn't make any sense. So you got like so if there's a tie. Actually, that's kind of quirky because well, no, you'd always potentially have a tie because each state, if you add a state, then it adds 2 more, so it's always going to be even. So there's always the potential for a tie. So the pro tempore must not be part of the Senate. And also, so the president picks the vice president. The Senate picks the president pro tempore, which would be like completely separate from. I feel like I'm not sure because you got the separation of powers, but it feels like there's like some parts where it's like, okay, this is a meaningless. It feels like the pro tempore being picked by the Senate, independent of like the vice president, seems like a meaningless separation of powers. Okay, so pro tempore, someone out of the Senate source needed, someone out of the Senate to be the tie-breaking vote if the vice president is absent. Source needed because maybe is just someone in the Senate to do the other duties of the president in just never have a tiebreaker. Well, I feel like, but what if the pro tempore and I feel like it just has to be someone outside the Senate because otherwise it just doesn't. Well, I guess maybe it's just fine that there's no tie breaks. Okay, so the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments when sitting for that purpose. Okay, so Congress has impeachment power of impeachment. Senate tries the impeachment case. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. So I guess you have the power of impeachment. Is that for just the president, or is it for the president and also the Supreme Court? Because there's like some stuff in the news about articles of impeachment for someone on the Supreme Court. So in that case, it seems like the power of impeachment of the Congress extends to both the executive and the judicial branch. Okay, so Chief Justice. What is the Chief Justice? Chief Justice. Is that? I mean, presumably the Supreme Court. No person shall be convicted without concurrence of 2/3. Okay, so defrac 2/3 greater than or equal to 2/3 present. How did that fail? Oh. So greater than 2/3 present to convict. Judgment in the cases of impeachment shall not extend further than removal from office and disqualification. So judgments in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than removal from office. Impeachment has no punishment aside from removal from office. So I guess you got like civil liabilities where, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can't. So like for civil liabilities, I think it's just like money. Unless failure to do civil, because you got like, so civil liabilities would just be like money, I think, and then if you fail to do the civil responsibilities, then that might incur extra crimes, but like you can never get put in jail for a civil case itself. But then for criminal stuff, it'd be money plus potentially jail time. And so this would say, so yeah, like in criminal cases are from impeachment. And I remember there's like a, what is it? I think it is something called a bill of attainder. Quirky little thing. Okay, so we got bill of attainder. Attainder. So basically, so you have Congress. So Congress by itself is not, it's like a separate branch from the judicial. So it's entirely separate from the judicial branch. And basically what a bill of attainder is it is the legislative branch deciding that someone is guilty of a crime. And because of the separation of powers, we've decided that we don't want that at all. So impeachment. It's like so Congress can't convict of crimes; they can only impeach. So like it never makes sense to attainder. There's two T's. Okay. Anyways,